So I've got a new rear and front sprocket here. I upped the number of teeth in the rear to make it a little more torquey, and of course when you change this you also want to change the chain. So before we actually start installing, I think it's a good idea to check the chain tension. So the book specification says it should be at 5 to 7 millimeters, which is really small. I think they're just talking about the flex in the chain like this, but I've always seen chain tension measured from the top to the bottom. So I'm just taking like a current measurement on the old chain to see before I put on the new chain, and it's like 35-ish millimeters, which is pretty good. Usually most bikes are like 30 to 40. So yeah, just take note of that. And then what we're going to do first is we need to loosen this front sprocket nut, I assume. I can't really see, before we pull the whole thing off the ground. So I'm going to remove this cover here with these, and I might have to remove this. We'll see. So I got this cover off. There were 3 8mm hex bolts and then 1 6mm bolt with like a female end, so you need the 6mm male end. Once you take that off, there's another 2 8mm bolts right there, and this thing should come off, but I'm having a little difficulty, so I kind of skipped ahead. So anyway, moving over here, I got this Harbor Freight tool for about $15, and you literally just put it on any link in the rear, and pretty much I used what is this, an 11/16 wrench and a 9/16 wrench, and push it through. And I just pushed one of the pins all the way through. Now let's see, so I should be able to take it out. Boom, here was the pin, and the chain is now free, so I can pull it right out. Just got to put the bike in neutral, lift up the rear wheel, and then I'll be able to pull it out. Okay, so now we got to remove the axle nut, which I have right here. I just took it off. So I put a, what does this say, 7/8? Yep, a 7/8 socket on this side, held it tight, and then I used a 17mm. This whole bike's in millimeters. That 7/8 was just probably an approximation on this side, and loosened it. And now the axle should just slide out kind of with some effort. Might need a hammer, but yeah. I'm not really sure just yet about if it's just going to slide out of the caliper, if I have to unbolt anything here. I guess I'm just going to kind of hold the tire. So I'm going to need to put the GoPro down, use 2 hands, but try and pull the wheel out. Just a note, when you're working on it, if you lay it down, watch this rotor. If you're, I don't know if the rotor is going to hit the ground while you lay the tire down when we take the rear sprocket off. But yeah, so I'm just going to slide this axle tube out and take the whole tire out, and then we're going to take off the sprocket. So to get the wheel out, you don't actually have to do any manipulating of the caliper. You kind of just pull it out and get it off to the side. It slides on this piece right here, and then we got this. So now we got the thing laid down. I put it on a towel. We got the rear sprocket right here. These are 15mm. Yep, no, 14. And I just loosen these, and then I'm going to take it off, put the new sprocket on, and then remount the tire. Looking at the rear sprocket here, so when you tighten these nuts, they go to 20 foot-pounds. Probably the trickiest part of the whole installation is using this tool. So originally this tool had this piece, which you can see is hollow, in right here, and I used it to break the chain by just pushing this pin. I don't know if you can see that so well. So the pin, you can turn this, it'll come farther, and just push the pin all the way out. But now we want to rivet the master link. So you put in this, which is not hollow. I don't know how well you can see that. And then pretty much get this to just barely stick out, so that way you can flare out the rivet and get it to hold. So basically, when you get your chain all the way on, the master link, you'll have it slide through, and then another clip on this side, and then you just press each rivet. So you put this on, whoops, like this basically, and tighten it all the way down, and then that little nipple sticking out here will like flare this out, so that way it kind of locks into place. And then once it's on, again, what we gotta do is check for chain tension. So it should be about, I got like 30 to 35 millimeters from top to bottom, and you can do that here. So you just loosen this lock nut and then adjust it, and then you just gotta make sure it's the same on both sides so the wheel's pointed straight. So you can tell by these grooves right here and how they line up, and that'll tell you if it's straight or not. And once that's good, everything goes back, and that should be it. One more thing, make sure to lubricate it with an appropriate chain lube before you go driving. And one more thing, so you need this loose as you're adjusting the chain tension, and then when you finally want to tighten it, you tighten this to 67 foot-pounds. And then the front sprocket, which as I put in, just pulled out, those tighten to 9 foot-pounds each, these little bolts right here. And it's actually really surprised me. This goes straight to the engine, so I started it without this cover on. Don't do that. Oil literally started coming out of here. I would not think these would have been like very important bolts, but I guess they are. So just a quick note.